Hi, my name is Cherie. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this channel, I talk about living life abundantly by strengthening your relationship with Jesus Christ. We do a lot of inner work on this channel, and I do give homework, so if that sounds interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Okay, let's get into the video. In this video, I'm going to talk about Ruth chapter 3. So here's a quick recap of chapters 1 and 2. There was a famine in the land of Bethlehem, so Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and his 2 sons left the land. They left the land of Bethlehem and they go to Moab. His sons marry 2 women. Their names are Orpah and Ruth. And Elimelech and his 2 sons die. Naomi and Ruth move back to Bethlehem. Now, while Ruth is gathering food from the fields, she meets Boaz. Okay, so in chapter 3, Naomi plays matchmaker, if you will. She tells Ruth to put on oils, and she tells her to wear her finest clothes and uncover Boaz's feet and lie down. This sounds very strange for, like, you know, us today. It's kind of like, yeah, break into the guy's house and lie down in his feet and ask him for marriage. Like, it's kind of weird. But there's a couple of things that we're seeing. First, Naomi is completely changed, because if we remember, I can't remember if it's chapter 1 or 2, but Naomi, she tells Ruth to call her bitter, Mora, meaning bitter. But Naomi now, she has moved back to the land where the Lord wants her to be, and she is now, you can kind of see healing. She seems like more, I mean, it doesn't really say, but I imagine that she's a little bit more excited for life now. And I feel like when the Lord, when he heals you, he allows you to help others and be excited for others. That's the great thing about the Lord, is that he doesn't keep us stuck, but we go from glory to glory, being transformed into his image. So then Ruth says to her, when she tells Ruth everything to do, and we took a lie down at his feet, and Ruth says to her, I will do everything she say. And notice that, like, the Bible doesn't say that Ruth necessarily hesitated, because remember, Ruth told Naomi that your people will be my people and your God will be my God. So there really wasn't any room for Ruth, in her opinion. She just said, yes, I'll do it. So when she did it, she went, she lied at his feet. Boaz woke up and he saw her, and she says to him, take me under your wing. You are a family redeemer. This is the part, I think this is like a juicy part. It's not a burger, Cherie. But in Job, I mean, the job of a redeemer, see, this is what you get when you read your notes. The job of the redeemer was to help a relative who was in trouble, danger, or in need of vindication. And this is a foreshadow of how Jesus is. This is a foreshadow of how Jesus is our redeemer. When Ruth's husband died, they didn't have any children, which meant that the bloodline will end. So what will happen is that sometimes this deceased man's brother, he would marry the widow, but their first son will carry on the deceased husband's name. But since there was deceased husband's name, but you know, his brother had died as well. But Boaz was the family redeemer, and Ruth had a right to claim him as their family redeemer, but Naomi told her to do this in a humble way. That's why Ruth lies down at his feet. That position was usually a position that servants would do. They would like lie at their master's feet, so that, you know, if their master needed anything, that they were right there. So Ruth does this in a humble way and not a demanding way. He tells her, so his response after she did that was that she is now more kind. She is more kind now than ever before, because she hasn't pursued younger men, whether rich or poor. So the thing is that we have to remember is that Ruth was not an Israelite. She was a Moabite. The Moabite women, they led the Israelites astray, and they caused them to have sexual sin. So the Moabites were not a people of God. They were pagan. They worshipped other gods. And Ruth decided not to go back to that. She decided to stay with her mother-in-law, who did not have any other sons in order for Ruth to be redeemed by. So he already knows that, and he knows that she could have gone to someone who back to her land. She could have gone to someone rich. She could have, even though I feel like Boaz kind of had it together, but I don't know. But she could have went to someone who was younger, because I can't remember where I read this, but I read that Boaz was 80 and Ruth was 40. But the problem was in chapter 3, at the end of chapter 3, the problem was that there was a family redeemer who was closer. So, you know, they had a lot of different like rules when it came to this, but there was actually a family redeemer who was ahead of Boaz. So instead of Boaz saying like, yes, because I'm going to take you for my wife, he said, let's, you know, he wanted to do it the right way, and he wanted to make sure that the first family redeemer knew. And he said, if that family redeemer does not marry you, then I surely and gladly will. And that also is kind of like a foreshadow of, you remember when Jesus, after he fasted and the devil had took him up he took him up on the temple and said, and he showed him everything, and he said, you know, all of this can be yours if you just will bow down and worship me. And the thing is, that was the cheap, easy way out that obviously the Lord wasn't going to go for it. Like Jesus, he has no sin. He wasn't going to go for that. But that was the point for that people to bow down and worship him and see that he is God. So that would have been the cheap, easy way out. But he said, no, I'm going to do this the right way. Just as Boaz said, no, I'm going to do this the right way. So we see a lot of resemblance between the family redeemer Boaz and Ruth, and then Jesus, our redeemer. So that's exactly what Jesus did to us. He adopted us into God's chosen family. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please comment them down below. Remember that I love you, I'm praying for you, and I'm here for you. Bye.